Daniel stood outside the bar entrance, holding his phone, waiting for the rideshare he couldn't really afford. His 8-year-old daughter Emily was home with his sister, asleep. He worked the late shift at the architecture firm because someone had to pay the bills, and as a single dad, he knew every minute mattered. But he didn't expect to see her, his boss, Clara Hartley, stumble out of the bar like a storm on shaky legs. Clara, the woman who could silence a whole room with her precision, her power, her perfect composure, now barely able to keep her balance, blinking through blurred vision. Daniel shouldn't have noticed. But he did. He always did. She was about to step right into the path of an oncoming car when Daniel lunged, grabbing her arm and pulling her back. "Hey, careful," he said gently. She looked up at him, confused, squinting. "Daniel. What are you doing here?" "Saving you from becoming tomorrow morning's headline," he muttered. He knew escorting his drunk boss home could risk rumors, or worse, misinterpretation. But letting her wander alone, that wasn't an option. And she didn't pretend to resist. She simply leaned into him, exhausted and trembling. He guided her to the car, made sure she drank water, ensured she got inside safely, and stayed until she fell asleep on her couch, covered with the blanket he found draped over the chair. He left quietly. The next morning, he prepared himself for the usual, denial, awkwardness, the "thanks but let's forget that ever happened" talk. But Clara didn't pretend anything. When he stepped into the office, she looked directly at him, clear-eyed, serious, and for the first time, vulnerable. "Daniel," she called softly. "My office. Please." And that's where everything began to change. Clara's office was unusually quiet. Daniel stepped in, slowly closing the door behind him. She stood near the window, arms gently folded, but not in her usual commanding stance. There was something softer in the way she turned toward him. "I remember everything," she said before he could speak. Daniel froze. "Clara, you don't have to." "No," she cut in, voice trembling. "I do. Because no one has ever shown me that kind of kindness without wanting something in return." He blinked, surprised. It wasn't kindness. It was the right thing to do. Her gaze held his for a moment, searching, maybe for something she didn't know how to ask for. "What you saw last night, that wasn't me," she whispered. He nodded. "Everyone has bad days. You've seen several of mine, and you never said a word." Daniel didn't answer. It wasn't his place. He had enough chaos in his own life, raising Emily alone after losing his wife, juggling finances, holding on to a job that felt like it could slip through his fingers any second. Clara exhaled sharply, grounding herself. "Can we talk after work today?" That startled him. "Talk? About what?" She hesitated. "About everything." When the workday finally ended, Daniel found Clara waiting by the lobby, holding 2 coffees. No assistant, no briefcase, no armor of professionalism. Just her. They walked outside together. "You think I have my life under control," she said. "But last night probably told you otherwise." Daniel sipped the coffee. "I don't judge you." She smiled weakly. "I judge myself enough for both of us." They reached a small park bench near the building. Clara stared at her hands. "I took on more than I could handle," she said. "This firm, the expectations, the pressure. I thought if I controlled everything, I wouldn't fall apart. But last night, I broke. Then rebuild," he said softly. "That's how life works. We fall. We get back up." She turned to him with a seriousness that wasn't cold, just painfully honest. "You talked about getting home to Emily. You sounded tired. How long have you been doing this alone?" Daniel swallowed. 8 years. Since Emily was a baby. Clara nodded, listening deeply. "You know," she said quietly, "you save more people than you admit. Not just me." Silence stretched between them. Not awkward, just full of unspoken things. Then she said something that completely threw him. You deserve a position that reflects your talent. You've been undervalued. By this firm, and by me. Daniel stared. What do you mean? I'm promoting you, she said. Effective immediately. His heart stuttered. Clara. This isn't gratitude for last night. This is overdue recognition. He didn't know whether to believe it, but her eyes told him she meant every word. And, she added softly, I want to make sure you're not carrying everything alone anymore. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Clara, you don't have to. She stepped closer. Let me finish, she whispered. I don't know what this is between us. But I didn't forget what you did. And I don't want to pretend it didn't change something in me. Her voice was low, steady. Maybe it changed something in you too. Daniel exhaled shakily. She wasn't wrong. Something had changed. But before he could respond, his phone rang. Emily's school. Clara watched his face tighten with concern. What happened? She asked. Emily, she fainted. They're taking her to urgent care. Clara didn't hesitate. I'm coming with you. The drive was a blur of worry. When they reached the clinic, Daniel rushed inside. Emily was awake but pale. The doctor explained it was exhaustion and dehydration, stress from school, skipping meals, trying to be strong for Dad. Daniel's heart shattered. He knelt beside his daughter. You don't have to be strong for me, sweetheart. I'm here. Always. Emily hugged him weakly. Then Clara stepped forward, slowly, respectfully. Hi, Emily. I'm your dad's friend, she said gently. He worries about you so much. You're very loved. Emily gave a small smile. Dad talks about me at work. Sometimes, Clara said. With a lot of pride. Daniel felt warmth bloom in his chest. On the ride home, Emily fell asleep in the back seat. Clara glanced at Daniel. Do you ever let someone help you? She asked. He gave a tired laugh. I don't know how. Then let me try, she murmured. Over the next few weeks, their lives intertwined quietly. Clara visited sometimes, helping Emily with homework, talking with Daniel about work, about life, about the losses they both carried silently. She didn't hide behind her walls anymore, and Daniel slowly lowered his. But the real turning point came one rainy evening when Emily was drawing on the living room floor. Clara, Emily said suddenly. Do you like my dad? Daniel nearly choked on his tea. Clara blushed. Yes. Very much. Emily beamed. Good. He needs someone. Daniel looked at Clara, stunned, and she didn't look away. Later, when Emily was in bed, Clara lingered by the doorway. You know, she whispered, your daughter is very wise. Daniel stepped a little closer. Maybe she sees what I was too scared to. And what's that? Clara asked, voice trembling. That you didn't forget the night I helped you, he said. Because maybe, you needed someone too. Clara's breath caught. I did. He gently took her hand. For the first time in years, neither of them felt alone. By the end of that month, Daniel had settled into his new position. The workload was still heavy, but now he had support, real support. And Clara. She no longer carried her life on shaking shoulders. She let people in. She let him in. One evening, after dinner with Emily, Clara stood beside Daniel on the balcony. You saved me that night, she said softly. Not from the street, but from myself. And you saved me from thinking I had to do everything alone, he replied. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Maybe, she whispered, we save each other. And under the warm glow of the city lights, with Emily laughing inside and a future neither had expected, Daniel realized. Helping someone in their weakest moment had led him to one of the strongest chapters of his life.